this agricultural committee meeting to order, February 3rd, 2020. We can have roll call first.
Walther,
Here.
Lee, Barstow,
Here.
Do the pledge. Scott?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Well, tonight we have a very full board for our committee meeting, and talked with Scott a little bit earlier ahead of time. Thought we would go through, instead of reading all these quickly through, I thought we would just basically ask a couple of quick questions up front. Scott, maybe save some time. And then if we have any specific, if there's anything specific within any of them you want to point out to us, that's fine.
Okay.
And then if we have any specific questions, we can ask those at that point. So I'm going to start off with a couple just general questions. Scott, when these come in, I'm assuming that, or I'd like to ask or confirm that the administration's looking at each one of these. They're investigating, especially when these are all renewals,
Correct.
investigating that these properties have been used as farmland and are still being used as farmland, so that they apply for the credits correctly.
Correct.
They're, I think, minimum 10 acres, is that right?
Well, it varies depending upon certain criteria.
Okay.
That if it can be, I think it has to be at least over 5, but then I think there's a certain dollar amount affixed to that.
Okay.
In terms of what they make from the agricultural use of the property.
Okay. All right. Those are my two general questions. Todd, do you have any general?
I don't have any general questions, no.
All right. Scott, anything in particular you want to point out to us on these?
As I mentioned, all these are renewals, so I think it's pretty much every 5 years they come back to take a look at. I've been noticing that in the past, there was some rhyme or reason to how they were put on an application. Now we have some that'll be all throughout the city, that it's become difficult to pinpoint it like we classically did, so that's why some of these are a little bit longer. Because, for example, there's one for Mr. Emsweiler, there's a property on 310, and there's some on Etna Parkway, so it's a little bit all over the place. Some, I think Mr. Waggy had some on Dixon, some on North Summit, some on South Summit, so it's difficult where before it would be properties that were in a collective area, now they're kind of spread all out through the application. So, looking through these, Mr. Schaefer's was the first one. We did review it, it's a renewal. Staff has no objections to that application. The Shannons on Summit Road. This is located near Sage Point. So from an area development standpoint, Sage Point, as we know, is currently being considered for rezoning. And then as we look at infrastructure plans, should Sage Point be approved, there would be infrastructure improvements in the area. However, staff had no objections.
Well, just so I can stop you there, are you saying there would be infrastructure improvements on this property or just in the area?
In the area.
Okay.
Again, the Thomas property is in close proximity to Sage Point. It's about 300 feet to the southwest from the subject property. So again, if Sage Point is approved, there will be area development and infrastructure in the area. Staff had no objections to that one. Red Chip Farms, reviewed, again, renewal.
Wait a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Thomas property is on, it's on Mink.
Thomas, Poppy Hills Drive,
Well, that's their address.
right?
So I'm talking about Ronald Rose Thomas. You said it was near Sage Point.
There's
on-
Mink, and these two properties, Sage Point is right here.
Okay. Oh, it's close. Okay, I thought maybe, I thought, I misunderstood, they said bordered on it. It's close. Okay, no, it is kind of close. Okay, sorry, keep going. Red Chip Farms.
Red Chip Farms, reviewed, it's a renewal, no objections to that application.
Okay.
Emsweiler property on Mink. staff reviewed that application, again, renewal, no objections. Imsweiler on Mill, reviewed, it's a renewal, no objections.
Is this, where is this in relation to the proposal on Mill, Scott? Is that,
This would be Mill, it's much further to the east.
yeah, I see, okay, I got perspective now, sorry, thank you. Yeah, all right.
The Imsweiler properties on Etna Parkway, Refugee Road, Broad Street, Mill Street Road, and State Route 310. We did review those, again, those are renewals, no objections to this application.
Let me, Scott, stop you there. The ones that I see that are kind of interesting are the ones that are right on Broad Street. I'm looking at your fourth page.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, the backside of the third page, sorry. Several small, probably less than an acre parcels. And again, I'm asking the question, my understanding was there had to be a minimum acreage. Go ahead, Ken.
It can be a combined acreage of a number of parcels. And even the 10 acres is what they consider for CAUV. An agricultural district can be any amount of land as long as it's had an average income of, I believe it's $2,500 over a 3-year period.
Okay, that clears that
That
up.
helps.
Yep, that clears it up, thank you.
Yeah, and Scott, just for the record, I mean, these folks all, sign these applications, I'm not sure if they do it
Affirming.
affirming, I don't think it's not a sworn statement, but they fill out a form, that they submit to the auditors, is that correct?
That's correct,
So-
and they allow the auditor to inspect the property.
So filling out knowingly filling out a false statement would be I can tell you, it would be a felony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's a government form. Okay, yeah, I share, I mean, Mr. Walters' concerns that we're,
And I'm gonna just echo Todd's question, that's by signing it above D, above that on D, for instance, on the back page, D, says, does the land in which application has been made total 10 acres or more, devoted exclusively to agricultural production, or devoted to and this is hard to read, purpose, payments, or other compensation under land retirement or conservation program under an agreement with a agency of a federal government, and you can say yes or no, and if you say no, so it's less than that, then they're supposed to attach evidence of gross income for each of the parcels for the past 3 years. We don't see that, obviously,
We
right?
do not,
They're submitting that to the county,
correct.
all right? Okay, well, we'll just have to, the county gave it to us, they must have.
Yeah, so essentially when we look at these, it's not to confirm or verify that they've met the auditor's requirements. It's just for us to put it in an agricultural district that thereby protects them from lawsuits or litigation resulting in typical farm practices.
Gotcha.
yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the tax valuation.
Right.
It's
Got it.
our end of it.
Correct.
Okay.
So there was staff had no objections to that one. The Imsweiler properties on Etna Parkway and Mink Street, again reviewed, it's a renewal, no objections. The Waggy property on Dixon Road and Summit Road. The property on the north side, the northern part of Summit Road, above or north of Havens Corners, is across from Woodside Drive and in the proximity of the new Licking Heights High School.
The new ones that are being built, okay.
Correct. But aside from pointing that out, staff has no objections to the application.
And Mr. Waggy was on a jury that I had late last year, and under oath he identified himself as a corn farmer, so. Oh,
The Rhodaback property on Columbia Road. Reviewed, it's a renewal, no objections from staff. Craig Maynard on McIntosh Road. This property abuts the future Heron Manor subdivision to the south. So as Heron Manor is developed, there will be that subdivision in addition to infrastructure improvements in the Heron Manor property. This is used for timber. Staff has no objections to this application. And finally, the Sloniker property on Mink Street. Again, it's a renewal. Staff had no objections to this application.
So just, so everybody knows, Todd, we're gonna, these are gonna be in the consent agenda, and, if need be, I'm glad, if you and I agree to, I assume we're gonna make a motion to have these go forward. I can explain that at that time for the consent agenda.
Sounds good.
So,
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Yeah, I move that we approve the 12 agricultural districts that are listed in the council public hearing agenda for tonight's public hearing, February 3rd, 2024.
All right, I'll second that.
Barstow,
Yes.
Walters?
Yes. Any other business in front of the Ag Committee? Anything, Scott?
No, sir.
Todd?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Motion to adjourn.
Move adjourn.
I'll second that.
Barstow?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks for returning my
Well done,
my
John.
thumb.
You're welcome.
Next meeting in 2 minutes, so.